great chance for us to see again what's happening.
That is spot on, right, you couldn't get that any better. So we can see a breakdown now. Lee's feed is breaking down. It's just starting to trickle off the edges. You can just barely see. I think you can just see the hook bait just starting to become exposed. I think that bait is soft enough now that if a fish did manage to come in and have a suck at that feeder, I think everything is going to go in the fish's mouth. Be really interesting to see whether these fish want the ground bait. Now in clear water, sometimes ground bait's a really good bait. Now there was the maggot come off the ball and that's fell to the side now again. So if a fish approaches that from the wrong angle, he's not even going to see that single maggot hook bait. We know that maggots are a fantastic bait on a method feeder. It's what we all used to use years ago. It was the original method feeder hook bait when we were using ground bait. And I think ground bait and maggots are a fantastic combo. But whether it's going to work in this situation, especially with the bottom being so rocky, is another matter. So we've got a really slow breakdown now. That's because of the feeder style. That's because there's ground bait added to the mix as well. And that just slows down the breakdown. But you can see, beautiful tight parcel of bait. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we get a chance of a fish taking that bait. So, a couple of fish are now on the spot. They seem very wary. Now, whether these fish are really tuned into ground bait is another matter. But they just don't seem to be ripping up the bottom like they were when it was just micro pellets going into the swim. But nevertheless, there's a couple of fish on the spot now. Beautiful fish in this lake. Loads of common carp. These fish are averaging sort of 4 to 8 pound, that sort of size. Perfect match carp representation. Obviously on the screen they might look a little bit bigger, but that's the size of them. 4 to 8 pounders these are. And they're spooky. You know, we had a spell where those fish were coming in the swim and literally tearing the bottom up to get to the bait, but these fish seem spooky now. Whether that's because of the bait change, you know, we have been messing around repositioning cameras, but maybe it's because of the bait change, who knows. But everything's there, perfect parcel still. We've had a couple of fish come in, and those fish were maybe a foot away from the bait, and the bait is still intact. Here we go, here's one. He's going down, dipping onto the bait. Is he going to take it? This is the moment. He's dubious. He's just puffed the bait. Oh! That is as close as I think you're going to get without actually hooking a fish. That was unreal, and that shows sort of the negative aspect of ground bait, because that fish came up, he could suck from a long way away, and I think that fish knew he could suck those finer parts from a long way away. He blew everything, and now you're left with ground bait, you know, scattered all over the place. And these fish now, whether they home in on that little one, that parcel of bait, is another matter. But I think these are going to feed on that ground bait all around that feeder, and they can choose now. They can choose whether they feed on that feeder or feed around it. I mean, there's a lot of fish in the swim. Here's another one right on the feeder. Have you got him? I'm looking over at Lee but he's not striking. that fish has come in. There's loads of fish in the swim, and one might pick up the hook bait now, but we've got two real good talking points there to talk about. I think, even though there's loads of fish in the swim, sacrifice a bite, have a reel in, come round, have a look at what's just gone on. That was amazing. Sounds to me like I've been mugged off. Right, you've got to get him in here, mate. This was your first cast, okay?
Sorry.
So you can see your feeder's landed. Okay?
Nicely in shot, yeah.
Nicely in shot. Now you watch what happens to your maggot. So it's fell off to the side almost straight away.
Oh yeah, look at that, straight away, completely
Almost straight
away.
And it's, look, to me, if a fish comes into your feeder, he's not getting your bait. And now watch what happens.
Unless I get him with a lucky suck.
Exactly.
I mean? Yeah.
So now, and this is when you were telling me that there was a few fish and you felt that you were getting line bites.
I was getting, Rob, my tip was going crazy. I think there was some fish.
Now you watch what happens to this feeder now.
Wow, that's fish that is, you know.
Look.
Wow.
This is as you're sinking your line, but obviously the fish are bumping the line, moving the feeder.
I didn't physically try to sink my line.
Okay, you can see fish in the background.
Wow, that's fish moving.
You can see fish in the background. Obviously, in a match.
No, I didn't even know that happened.
Would you be sitting there thinking, oh, there's a few fish in my peg, I'm happy with that?
Well, the only thing I will say is, right, and hopefully we picked up on camera, my tip was bending like this, and then it went, and it just dropped slack, and I thought my feeder's
So now, in my opinion, your presentation's gone.
I would have wound it in, yeah.
Totally gone, totally gone. And then, obviously, we'll scroll it through, a few fish come in and swim, your hook bait is totally covered.
Yeah.
This boy comes in.
He's a big one, yeah.
Yeah,
he'd have
has a suck.
Yeah,
nothing,
no, yeah.
Just your presentation was
wasted time,
totally wrong, totally wrong. And that's when we said, look, wind it in. Look how many fish are in the swim, Lee. It's
yeah.
It's unreal to see how many fish are in the swim now.
It's crazy.
So now we go through, next cast in, plops in beautifully.
All in one piece, Rob, which I'm interested in.
All in one piece, because obviously you're using ground bait now, aren't you, around the feeder?
I'm using ground bait.
Have you got only ground bait? So it's going to go into a nice tight pile.
Yeah.
Micros obviously break up really fast,
I'm interested to see how quickly it breaks up, because obviously I've mixed my ground bait slightly on the dry side, but I'm really squeezing it on, you know, with a slightly damp hand, because I wanted to make sure it went on in one piece.
Look, it's breaking down, but it's staying in a blob. It's staying in a ball.
No, it's good, isn't it?
It's good. I'm just a bit wary about how fast this is softening up for a fish to come and suck everything up.
Well,
now you'll see your maggot.
But you saw how quickly the maggot sort of came.
Yeah, but this time it takes a lot longer this time.
Yeah,
You've obviously buried it a bit further.
Yeah.
It takes a lot longer to become exposed. So what happens is the maggot still becomes exposed, but then it drops off the side of the ball again.
Yeah.
And because obviously not all lake beds are flat, this certainly isn't, because we've got a lot of rocks. Your feeder's at sort of an angle. It's on a bit of a slope.
Yeah.
Everything rolls off to that side, to that left-hand side, including your hook bait. And it almost, for some reason, it becomes exposed later on in the cast again. But at the minute, it rolls off to the side, becomes covered. It'd be so difficult for a fish to find, I feel, or to suck it up if a fish attack your feeder from the wrong angle.
Yeah.
So if the fish come in
you can see the maggot coming now. It's obviously quite soft on top. I think you'd stand a chance if a fish sucked it up.
If a fish comes in now, you've got him.
Yeah,
because that is ideal.
Yeah,
but your window of opportunity is so short with this approach. And then, obviously, once that hook bait's exposed.
Do you think that'd be good if there was like chaos in the peg though? And they're really attacking the ball.
But you can see now, maggot's gone.
Yeah, I saw the maggot fall off.
Yeah, it fell off.
Yeah.
Now, what I think is really important to see is when you start getting a few fish in the swim.
Yeah.
We'll just scroll it on a little tiny bit.
Yeah, scroll on to just I can see you having a heart attack.
Right. So now we're getting a few. Too far. We're getting a few fish in the swim.
Yeah, I can see the maggot on the side of the.
You can see the maggot on the side of the ball. Now look at this fellow. He comes in.
Yeah.
Has a really good look.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Why isn't he going for that ground bait?
Hang on. All he does is he sucks a bit, blows a bit.
Gone.
Right, he's done you. Now look at all your ground bait scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
You can see there's a bit in the feeder.
Still got ground bait in the feeder, yeah.
But it's scattered everywhere.
The trouble is the hook bait's not there anymore.
The hook bait's not there.
The hook bait's not on the side, isn't it?
But there's so many fish in the swim that you get a second chance. Because another fish comes in.
Which is why I like ground bait sometimes, Rob, because at least there is still bait on my feeder.
There's still bait on your feeder,
It's still a tight package, that, isn't it?
I get that, but where's your hook bait now?
I don't know.
Exactly, I don't know.
Could be underneath anything.
So can these fish find it? So we get another situation.